All right, guys, here we go. You guys asked for it. I'm going to give it to you. What I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about the beginnings of where I started from and where I'm at today. I'm going to try not to say the word more than probably 10 times. If I do, I'm sorry. It is what it is. My father tried to correct that back in the day, however. He told me not to say and not and can't. And 2 of the 3, I can't help myself. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Pops. Dream Rider. Anyhow, all right, here we go, guys. Let's start at the very beginning. As far as my mind travels back, I started bass fishing, or actually fishing in general, probably sometime 3, 4, 5 years old. I do remember fishing a lot down on in Lake Placid on a little ditch or a little canal, I guess, leading out to Lake Placid on my Grandma Jean and Grandpa Bob's house down there. I remember the flamingos my grandma used to feed the flamingos with bologna, also the alligators as well. But they used to have a dock back there. Actually, there was no dock when I first started fishing there, and then I guess my Grandpa Bob decided to build a dock and buy a pontoon boat or whatever. So I used to go out there early morning hours. I used to rummage through my Grandpa Bob's tackle box. Regardless if I knew what I was doing, I took his fishing pole out there. I tied on lures. I probably lost half of this tackle box on the other side of the canal just from casting, not knowing any difference, but I was out there trying, okay? I had a very sincere passion for catching anything at that point. I know my Uncle Chris, he's a merchant marine, and my father, they spent a lot of time with me out there fishing on that same canal, and so forth. So that's where I really got the motivation, the drive, just to fish. And it really, to this day, I'm 42, 42 years old, and I still have that same excitement, man, when I go fishing. There's no different. And I remember very vividly about going out there trying to catch fish, catch bass, catch catfish, sunfish, something that would, come skiing across the water. I would definitely try it. But anyhow, I started in Florida on Lake Placid. And then I remember growing up a little bit, my father would take me out to the Neuse River. My father's in the Marine Corps, so we actually moved across the country quite a bit. And I remember very vividly going to Cherry Point. And on Cherry Point, they had several ponds. I think it was Bartlett Pond, it was Catfish Lake. I don't remember all of them, excuse me, but I know my father would actually take me out there. We had a little, I think it was a 10-foot bass something, and it was a small little, like a plastic boat, had a little, enough for two people to sit in it, had a little trolling motor on it, a couple batteries, and we would go out there and just fish. I mean, we would troll around. My dad would throw his little culprit worm. We would get chased by dogs in the river. I mean, it was a good time. I remember a lot of that. He taught me how to throw a weightless fluke and drag the old culprit, 7.5-inch culprit. And then my dad would take me down to Lake Mattamuskeet. We spent a lot of time down there, I think multiple times, fishing Lake Mattamuskeet in North Carolina. I think it was eastern North Carolina somewhere. And we'd go, there was a little drainage ditch, I guess, going out to the lake. It's a very shallow place. And we would actually bring the pumpkin seed, Texas worm, culprit worm, dude, and we would whack them. We would just wear them out. That and the alligator gar. Multiple days. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And I want to go back there sometime and maybe try to take one of the kids or something down there just to try to bring back some more memories. How you guys get in tune with something and you go down there or go anywhere and just kind of refreshing some of the locations, if it's even still there. It's probably built up a little bit, I'm assuming, but the area that we went to was very remote. I do remember a gas station nearby the boat ramp, but that was about it. But we had a good time, had some good memories with my father. And let's see here. I think it was in 96, 95, 96. Me and my father actually went into a bass tournament. It was a family tournament, him and I, and we took first place. I do remember we were still in that little plastic Jon boat with a little 35 horsepower Minn Kota, little, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe a little bit of reverse. And that's what we did. We went out there and we caught a limit. We caught some fish. We had a good time. We got some plaques, got a little bit of money. And then really after that, man, I really sparked an interest to start fishing maybe some local tournaments. I was only 15 years old, 16 years old, and I reached out to a couple local guys that I knew that were actually fishing the BFLs, and I started fishing the BFLs with somebody, and I would meet them at the boat ramp, pay them a little gas money, and just did my thing. Got into my 20s, still fishing hard. Of course, at this time frame, work got in the way, kids got in the way. There's no disrespect towards either one of them, but again, they were really hampering and tapering a lot of my time. But every spare moment I had, I went fishing. I went fishing at the Bayou Black River down in Louisiana. That's where I spent most of my youth at. That and Raleigh, North Carolina on Falls Lake. I spent a lot of time on Kerr, Lake Gaston. Those general areas. We had some Clayton Pond. It's a pond in Wake Forest in my parents' house, and that's where I caught my biggest fish in that area. I think it was 11 pounds and some change. And then that summer, I remember I was 16. I went to 96. Hold on a second. I'm recapping some things. So in 1996, the summer of 96, I went to Louisiana. And actually, I moved to back to Louisiana from my mother's house in Raleigh. And I was down in Bayou Black. We were fishing a tournament down there. And I had caught my biggest bass. I think it was 12 pounds and some change. Down there in the swamps, and it was the highlight. I wish I had some pictures of it. There was no pictures existing because I don't think iPhones even were around. I think I had a pager. So if somebody needed me, my pager would go off. I didn't have that at the time. I still have a vivid memory of catching that fish on a bridge piling right next to the boat ramp on a small 4.5-inch Zoom Texas rig. So, but anyhow, we're going to move forward to, let's see here, mid-20s. Once I moved from New Orleans, Louisiana, down to Wake Forest, North Carolina, where my parents live. I fished a lot of tournaments down there. I think I won a couple local tournament trails. I had, there was a tournament, very specifically I remember, on Falls Lake. It was actually my biggest bag to this day. I have not been able to beat that bag. It was a early spring tournament. I was up on by the dam area. There's a big flat right across from dam on Falls Lake, and my bag was like 37 pounds and some change with 5 fish. So I brought those fish to the scales, and there was some hardcore guys out there, probably in the 30s, 40s, and 50s out there. And I brought those fish to the scales, and they were like, there's no way, nobody even came close to that bag. And ever since then, dude, I really had, that spinnerbait dialed in. I ain't been able to catch nowhere near that amount of that limit since then on the spinnerbait or anything in general. I've come close a couple of times, but I have not been able to do it actually during an official tournament settings. But anyhow, come in my 30s, I actually moved to Virginia. Met my current wife and started fishing really hard again. Really started dialing into certain techniques. I guess I'm very anal when it comes to fishing stuff, like tying knots to how each individual rod, each individual bait operates. You know, I spent a lot of time analyzing that stuff, and it does hurt me. I'm not going to lie to you, it does hurt, but I think the effort I put into it, it helps me understand what that bait is doing very specifically. And hopefully I can actually make it to the big leagues one day. But right now I'm still trying to raise a family, still owner of a business landscape company, and still trying to do what I can do on a daily basis. You know, on the weekends, any of my extra moments that I have, you know, I like to give some tips and tricks about certain things. And if anybody has any questions, or, you know, you guys are getting new in the game, I'd be willing to pass along some of the knowledge. I mean, I've been doing it a very long time, and I know a lot about it. I just need to capitalize on it, on, you know, on a national settings, so I can actually be recognized for it. Until then, I'm just going to be some guy in the garage talking about fishing with a great hook sponsor, a great rod sponsor. So that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, you know, I fished several Bassmaster Opens probably since 2011. You know, I started, you know, did as a co-angler. You know, I did very poorly. Again, I was there to learn. Like most co-anglers there, you want to learn the do's, the don'ts, maybe some very specific techniques. In 2018, I decided to go ahead and join the pro side of the Bassmaster Opens and got my teeth kicked in. I mean, I think I fished 7 or 8 events. But again, I learned every single one of those events. I learned something very dear to my heart. I will carry that with me everywhere I go. And I promise you it won't happen again if we get in those certain situations, you know. So again, I'm trying to make it in the fishing industry like 99.9% of the YouTubers out there, or even some of the local guys who are actually trying to make a name for themselves. I'm just trying to go fishing, man. I'm just trying to enjoy my time. That is very critical, is actually enjoy the fishing while you can, all right? I have noticed a lot of anglers I fish with, they're miserable. They're miserable guys. They don't like to fish. I mean, they just, if things aren't going their way, they get bent out of shape. If the Pandoptics is jammed up or their electronics are jammed up, they don't know or understand how to read the conditions and go fishing and enjoy your time. Have fun with it. I still have fun to this day. There's only been one tournament where I didn't, about halfway through the day, I got extremely bent out of shape, but that was technical error on my part, and it was nobody else's fault, and I should have done very well, but I didn't capitalize on it. But I'm not going to harp on that situation. But again, fishing is fun, guys. So remember that when you go fishing next time, enjoy the moments, man. Enjoy sitting around talking to your co-angler. Enjoy the setting. Enjoy the people around you. You know, that is my big number one thing, is I enjoy being around a certain group of people, you know, as I call it, the happy campers. I enjoy being around those people. And negative Nellies is not my forte, and I apologize, but I just don't want to be around the negativity. I try to be as positive and humble as possible, and I will give you the shirt off my back if I have a shirt on or shoes on or socks on or whatever. But anyhow, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're sitting on your couch, you're riding down the road, you're sitting in traffic, you're sitting at a stoplight, you're listening to this humble beginnings of mine. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'm looking forward to what the future has to hold. I have some very good positive things coming up, and I'm going to keep grinding out. I'm going to keep grinding to make it happen. I just need everybody to share the videos, to help support me as much as possible, and I would really sincerely appreciate it. Okay, guys? All right. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Behave, be kind, and do what you like to do. Go fishing, smile, and have a good day. Peace out.